Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome everybody to the Thursday, November 20th, 2025 City Commission meeting held at 601 East Main Street, the Johnson City Municipal and Safety Building. First, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Next, I would love to welcome Pastor Ethan Magnus from First Christian Church for our invocation and our pledge. If everybody would stand.
Friends, it's a privilege to get to pray for you. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, may there be a blessing on this place and these people. In this place, may the strong care for the weak, and the well-fed share with the hungry, and the warm remember those who cannot escape the cold. May there be wisdom and humility in this room. May there be justice and compassion. May there be patience and fairness. Blessed are all those who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him, who are not proud, who are not puffed up, for they will enjoy the fruit of the land and share it with their neighbor. They with their labor will bring blessing to the city and its people. And may the Lord bring such a blessing to this room and this people in this moment and all the days of our lives. Lord, bless our city. Lord, provide relief to the oppressed, the hungry, the homeless, and the hurting. Lord, provide rescue for all those in need of it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Willis, what's the first item on the agenda?
Mayor, the first item for your consideration is approval of the minutes for the regularly scheduled City Commission meeting held on Thursday, November 6, 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor, the next item is public comment on the agenda. We have two individuals who have signed up to speak this evening, the first of which is Mr. Chris Edwards. He has signed up to speak on item 6.1, which is to consider the appropriation of supplemental funds for a proposed settlement of related claims in the BPETAL versus City of Johnson City, Tennessee lawsuit.
As you walk to the podium, I want to remind everybody that public comment is limited to those who have signed up at least 12 hours in advance. Comments must be about an actionable item on the agenda. You have 3 minutes, and Mr. Willis will be our timekeeper. If you could state your name, please.
Chris Edwards.
Thanks.
Good evening, Commissioners. 10 months ago, I stood in front of you and I shared my repugnance towards closed settlements and taxpayer-funded payouts that are intended to cover up malice and intent. I assure you my opinion has not changed over the last 10 months. What has changed is that we have added a new face to our commission. So Commissioner Getz, tonight I want to politely call you out a little bit, and the reason I want to do that is your peers and I have had this dialogue 10 months ago. So I'm just going to ask you give consideration in responding to these two questions before you vote tonight. One, how do you know that the vote you're giving tonight is the right vote? How do you know? And then secondly, after listening to our prayer, secondly, how do you go back to the people in this community that don't have heat, don't have a home, don't have food in the refrigerator to eat, How do you go back to them and explain that their city, potentially by the end of the night, has taken $30 million out of its checkbook to pay for something they did not cause? People are struggling to understand that. To all of you, I leave with this. 10 months ago, your response to how do you know? Your response was, we need to get ahead of it. We need to pay a little bit more money so that we don't have to continue paying. We're again here tonight. And I assure you, once HBO puts their miniseries across the country, everybody and their attorney is going to be knocking on Tom's door with their hand out as well. So what is your plan to stop the bleed? I look forward to hearing responses from you and from all of you tonight. Thanks for everything you do. Yeah, bye.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, the second individual approved to speak this evening is Mr. Sylvan Bruni, also regarding item 6.1.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, as always. So after the announcement of a $28 million settlement in the Sean Williams case, many residents submitted public comments about the impact of this financial burden on the city's ability to deliver services to citizens and commitments to our communities, like we just heard, and particularly in the context of Horizon 2045 and future investment and the so-called smart growth that the Commission talks about often. On April 3rd, I asked this body how the city planned to rebuild the general fund from which that settlement is supposed to be paid out of, and no response was provided at that time. On June 5th, I raised that same question again during the budget presentation. Again, no response was provided. Rather, the public heard a general statement, and I paraphrase, that the city's growth would take care of it in replenishing the general fund. Yet the data that was showed and the projections did not match the kind of gap that we are seeing from this. And now Johnson City is facing an additional $2.64 million settlement with, as stated by the Commission in the JC Press this Tuesday, more cases still pending that could lead to more settlements. So I strongly believe that Johnson City taxpayers really deserve clarity about the fiscal and operational impact of these settlements and how the city will replenish its reserves going forward. When it comes to money, silence really is not a strategy. Without clear communication on the specifics, people are left guessing about the city's financial stability and the long-term outlook for our beloved city. So tonight, I have three questions for you to address this particular issue. Number one, what is the city's plan to rebuild the general fund after these settlements? Number two, does the city have an estimated range for additional settlement exposure from those pending cases? And if so, can that be shared publicly? And three, how will these payouts affect future budgeting decisions, including capital projects, the staffing, and city services? Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Mr. Bruni.
Mayor, your next item is the consent agenda.
I'll start to my right, see what wants to be pulled.
I would like to pull 5.1.3, just so Ms. Norris can explain what semi-quincentennial is.
Commissioner Wise? Commissioner Getz?
I would love 5.1.4 for Ms. Norris to also let us know about this project.
Sounds great. Steve, let's stick with those.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Dr. Maggie Darden, Planning and Project Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department. For the semi-quincentennial grant, you get me. The semi-quincentennial is America's 250th celebration. And each state gets an allocation of money in which we get to celebrate the heritage and history of the United States. We were able to apply for the grant for Tennessee's 250th for a project that we're working on that was really near and dear to our hearts that we've already got some grant funding for as well. So I want to talk a little bit about the pieces of the pie that are coming together right now. The project is the Johnson City Black Heritage Walking Trail. It started as a community project. This came from our community and a desire to learn more and preserve the heritage of Black history in Johnson City. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Tennessee Foundation funded $5,000 for research into the Black history of Johnson City, so that we could preserve the stories and come up with a really well-researched and informed perspective on how to share that with Johnson City and the greater community. Out of that research, we applied for a Healthy Built Environment grant through the Tennessee Department of Health, and we were awarded an $80,000 grant to support the build and the infrastructure of the Black Heritage Walking Trail. What that means is, right now, our Public Works Department is taking out some sidewalks along Millard Street, putting in new sidewalks. So we're doing some infrastructure development and rejuvenation. Our Communications and Engagement Department is working on a design for signs for the research that was started with that $5,000 initial grant. And we're going to translate that into a physical walking trail that will start at the Langston Center and end on Water Street. The $20,000 grant that is on your consent agenda is to take this project from the physical into the digital. So we feel like there's another piece of this pie that we need to cover. We want to capture the voices of the people within this community, record history for generations gone by, allow the individuals who experienced history to tell it firsthand, and allow people to engage with that content through a website. So we have the support of our Communications and Engagement Department and staff to make that translate really beautifully and tell Tennessee's history here in Johnson City. So we're really looking forward to doing the whole project over the next few months. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Move approval.
Yeah, I think she was going to talk about yeah. Norris, can you? I know.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I will talk to you about the LPRF grant, our local Parks Fund from the Tennessee Department of Local Parks and Recreation. This grant that we're asking for your signature on this contract this evening will actually fund a revitalization of the Willow Springs Park playground and will add the addition of a splash pad. This is a matching grant, so the total of that project is $890,000 roughly. And our portion of that will be $445,000 roughly, and that was matched by the state of Tennessee. So this will take out the playground that's been there existing for about 20 years and replace it with an inclusive playground, as well as an inclusive splash pad for the community to enjoy. So, any additional questions?
Thanks for all the work you guys do, and Dr. Darden.
Thank you.
Now I'll move approval.
Second.
Ms. Slaus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Getz,
Yes.
Commissioner Wise,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock,
Yes.
Mayor Cox.
Yes.
Mayor, your next item for consideration in the other category is item 6.1, to consider the appropriation of supplemental funds for a proposed settlement of related claims in the BP-ETAL versus City of Johnson City, Tennessee lawsuit. Mr. John Lakey is here to address the board this evening.
Thanks for being here, Mr. Lakey.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor Cox, and good to see you, Vice Mayor Brock, and Commissioners. Thanks for having me this evening. My name is John Lakey. I work for the law firm of Birch, Porter, and Johnson. As this commission knows, I was hired to represent the City of Memphis in BP, HA, and SH versus the City of Johnson City. That was pending and is pending in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee. I appeared before this commission on February 13th to present a settlement proposal to resolve both sides of that case. And as you'll recall, and Commissioner Getz, I know you're newer to this, but the lawsuit involved really two different sides. One was a class action involving women who claimed that their reports of sexual assaults between January 1, 2018 and December 31, 2022 were not investigated properly because of gender bias. And the second side of the lawsuit was a class action about issues involving a group of women who've been sexually assaulted by Sean Williams. Those sexual assaults and Sean Williams' kind of reign of terror ending in late 2020. The gender bias class action is proceeding to finality, with the district court set to have a final hearing to approve that settlement in January 2026, and that's set in Greenville, Tennessee. I'm here tonight with regard to really the second part, relating to allegations that have been made against Johnson City related to its investigation of crimes perpetrated by Sean Williams. By July of this year, we had been contacted by counsel for a group of additional claimants who believed that they had viable claims against Johnson City relative to their assaults by Sean Williams. One of these claimants is a minor child, actually was under the age of 5 at the time of the alleged sexual assault by Williams. And as I told you in February, even when strong legal positions exist, sometimes a settlement can be preferable to drawn-out litigation. As indicated in tonight's agenda and is already addressed by some citizens, I'm here tonight to present to this commission a proposal to resolve this new group's claim or claims for an amount of $2,640,000. And as I turn to that proposal, Commissioner Wise, first I think it might be helpful to address some comments you made to the media, and actually one of the points that was made by one of the citizens tonight in speaking to you about other potential Sean Williams claimants. First, standing here tonight, I'm not aware of a single additional claimant. I don't have any knowledge of anyone else having come forward. Second, and I think this is really important for the commission to understand and for Johnson City to understand, if a potential claimant comes forward, they would have to provide material proof that they were a Williams victim. And not only that, they'd have to satisfy multiple factors before they could show that Johnson City even had the potential for liability. What is demanded in each of these situations is a case-by-case analysis. And I really want to make this clear, not every victim of Sean Williams has even an argument that they have a compensable claim against Johnson City. Let's move back to the group that came forward in July, represented by counsel. Over the next several months, counsel for the city investigated these claims, considered whether these claimants might have viable legal theories to bring against the city for the actions of Sean Williams. And in doing this investigation, it was telling that this group of claimants was similar in some respects to those with whom Johnson City settled with in February. There was a minor involved, particular important factors that were important to this commission's consideration at that time we've discussed in executive session. And it's important to note in going through the factors, it's really, I think it should be said that one of the factors that's not important to this consideration is whether Johnson City Police Department was involved with any criminal activity relative to its investigation of Sean Williams. And I think it should be noted and not forgotten by this commission or the citizens that the TBI, FBI investigated the allegations of criminal conduct, and that investigation resulted in General Finney, your local DA, announcing there was no such evidence of criminal conduct by the JCPD, and that investigation has been closed. So the current group of claimants would have sought damages for physical injury, emotional injury, punitive damages, and as I explained in February, punitive damages are meant to punish the wrongdoer, and as well as attorney's fees. And the attorneys that would be representing these claimants, if the matter came forward, wouldn't be charging $200 or $300 an hour. They'd be charging $600, $700, $800 an hour. The chance for a significant amount of damages to be awarded certainly would exist. In executive session, I've advised you of the findings of the investigation that your attorneys have conducted since July and provided to you our legal advice. And it would not be appropriate, despite some cries for it to be otherwise, and I understand those positions, but it would not be appropriate for me to go through the details of that investigation or our legal advice, and I won't do that. In fact, it's important to me as your attorney for me to give you some advice and caution that what I've told you in executive session, what your lawyers have told you in executive session, is privileged and confidential, and that if you share any of that information, there's a real danger you would waive that privilege that attached to those communications. You would waive your attorney-client privilege, and you should not do that. This applies not only because of this proposed settlement, but is especially important because Johnson City is currently engaged in 2 other lawsuits that relate to Sean Williams that are ongoing. And I'd also want to add that many of the considerations you've been advised about in executive sessions involve intimate information about Sean Williams' victims that are required by Tennessee statute to be maintained in confidence. And there are terms in the agreement, the proposed agreements, that would do the same. For the good of Johnson City and the benefit of its citizens, as well as the victims, it's paramount that this commission continue to strictly adhere to protecting its legal privileges. And I know that this commission wants to be transparent. I've heard your statements in the media. I've heard you talk to the media. And I know you want to be open with Johnson City citizens. But at the same time, as public officials, you have to be good stewards for Johnson City. And part of that is protecting your legal privileges and confidences. Tonight, I'm presenting to this body a proposed settlement by which these claims by this new group of claimants would be resolved. The settlement would require the appropriation by this commission of $2,640,000 to pay these claimants. These claimants have not filed a lawsuit. There is not a lawsuit to dismiss. But if in return for settling for this amount, the claimants would provide the city and all of its agents a full and complete release, which means that the claimants would be barred from filing a lawsuit now or ever in the future against Johnson City or its agents. So you have had the opportunity to receive your legal team's advice during executive sessions, our reports during individual meetings, but with that, I'm glad to answer any non-privileged questions that you might have.
Mr. Lakey, first of all, thank you, and for the legal team who's been advising us. We appreciate that so much. If we approve this settlement tonight, when will this have to be financially settled?
So the way this would be structured is that the financial obligations, the payment of the funds, would be 1/2 in December, by December 20, 2025, with the second half to fund by February 1, 2022. Oh, excuse me, but 2026, yeah. Can't go back in time, 2026. Yeah. Any other questions?
No other questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lakey. Does anybody have a motion?
Mayor, I will make a motion. Obviously, this is it's very difficult for everyone involved, but I do believe that it is in the best interest of our city to settle. And so I'll make a motion to approve the allocation of $2,640,000 to resolve this group of claimants.
Second.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion? No.
Mayor, if I can make, this is the first time I've had the opportunity to talk about this issue, so I just had a few thoughts I'd like to share. As a woman, and especially as a mother, I know that the crimes against these victims, and especially against this child at the hands of a monster, are just deplorable. But Sean Williams does not define our community, and these unthinkable crimes that took place 5 to 7 years ago, this is a new chapter, and my time as a commissioner has been short, but in that time, I've spent it learning all I can about the situation, how our police department operates today. We have General Finney's report, and that the FBI and TBI found no corruption, bribery, or criminal misconduct in our department. And beyond that, and from what I've seen, we have incredible leadership and officers that want to, and processes that want to protect our citizens. I've spent time with some of those officers, and I've seen how they truly care about our community. And what we could have done better 5 to 7 years ago, I believe we do better today. And aside from that, I take great responsibility when dealing with the allocation of public funds. And when I expressed interest in serving in this position, I said that I would take problem solving by asking the question, what's in the best interest of Johnson City? And in this case, that means both the financial health of this city, but also the well-being of the victims, and especially of the child. So therefore, I do support this motion.
Any other comments? Well, I'm going to make one, just to refer to Mr. Edwards, because he asked really just a great blanket question of how do I know this is right, as far as my decision on how I will choose to vote tonight. I can tell you that no one up here takes this remotely lightly. I can't believe we're still talking about it. I can't believe how far-reaching, and I'm not going to say his name's crimes go. I came from the outside with my own thoughts and opinions, and then coming and being involved in the city and the conversations and just the tears that the staff has shed trying to navigate this. This is not easy for anyone, but I can tell you that litigating this could be the cost associated is not just the financial risk. There's the social risk for our community. You don't know how long those drag out. And there's victims that have to litigate it in the public as well. So without a doubt, moving forward in this manner to protect the funds, our community, the victims, I don't have a doubt in my mind it's the right decision, even though it's extremely painful. I thought I would get to come on the commission and work on all these little fun projects in Parks and Rec, and this has been something that has weighed on everyone on a continual basis. And so even though we don't have a barrage of questions to ask, because obviously attorney-client privilege exists, the due diligence is done, and this is, for me, is a matter of mitigating the costs that could come with litigation. And so that may not be the whole answer you want, but those are my thoughts. So with that, Ms. Laus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor, next, item 6.2, a presentation of the annual IDB pilot report and consider approval of a request for a one-year extension to the pilot guidelines MOU. Assistant City Manager Alicia Summers is here to present on this evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. So again, I'm here on behalf of the IDB to give our annual pilot report, and then just as a refresher, payment in lieu of tax. So these go back to economic development projects. And what is economic development? There are any projects, activities, programs that we engage in to grow a healthy economy within our city. And again, as a reminder, pilots are created by state legislation, and those are authorized through this city commission for the IDB to be able to enter into these types of agreements. And pilots reduce, discount, or freeze property taxes for up to 20 years. And they're a common tool that we use in the retention, expansion, recruitment, and in some instances, housing projects. So here we go. Here's what we have now. And again, all of our pilots have an accountability component to them. They're required to report to us annually on a variety of different variables. And they are reviewed by multiple entities, including CPAs, the IDB attorney, and others. So our first one is LPI. As of November, they have met their performance requirement. They exceeded their job creation numbers by over 58%. So they were required to create 209 jobs over a 5-year period, and they created over 330. And in 2026, that real property will return to the tax rolls. Crown Laboratories, again, as of November, the company has met their performance requirements. They committed to 216 new jobs and are up to 282, which is over their number by over 30%. And they will continue to provide us annual pilot reports over the term of the pilot. And Lab Connect, they're in year 4. They anticipated the creation of 211 new jobs, and they have created up to this point 162, so they have another year left in their agreement with us. And that was a pilot on equipment only. CATS America is a new one. This one was for an expansion. This company makes, I'm sure some of you are aware, coasters. So if you have a coaster or use a coaster anywhere, it's probably made by CATS Americas. But they committed to 76 new jobs, and again, they're in year 1. And then another new pilot for us is PVS Plastics. This one is a pretty interesting project. You all might remember when EBM PAPS landed in our community a number of years ago. They moved into Johnson City initially and then built out a facility in the Washington County Industrial Park. PVS Plastics is a supplier to EBM PAPS, which is perfect case scenario when you're talking about recruiting new companies. And they moved into the temporary space that EBM PAPS was in. And so, excuse me, we entered into a personal property pilot with them, and they are in year 1. And then LHP, they are hopefully will be moving residents in December, and our agreements with them will come into play in 2026. And then we have another housing pilot that we entered into last year, and they'll start reporting in September of 2026. And so our request this evening is to consider entering into a 1-year extension of the MOU between the IDB and the city, and that allows the IDB to enter into pilots that fall within certain guidelines. And then as a reminder what the MOU and those guidelines are, you can see the criteria for that: a minimum capital investment of $1 million, the creation of 25 new jobs, medical benefits, compliance with city, county, and state taxes. And staff recommends approval of the extension.
Ms. Summers, just as a reminder, particularly for the public, the Industrial Development Board, the IDB board that we keep referring to here, that's an appointed board. that are made up of business professionals, and you may indicate others that may be a part of that. And they research all these projects, and then they statutorily have the ability to make those decisions. And then if we enter into a pilot, then they actually have possession of the property until the pilot ends. Is that correct? I
Yes,
may have
that
not
is.
said that wrong, but.
No, that's correct. And that's the mechanism, the transfer of the property to the IDB is the mechanism that allows
Right.
the property tax abatement to occur.
So mention just a little bit about what kind of paying jobs are these? And now I know some of them that you've had up there, like Crown Laboratories and such, that these are really good paying jobs, aren't they?
Yes, the majority of these are very, very well-paying jobs. Additionally, when you go through and look at the MOU and the different levels of property tax abatements that can be offered, one of the scoring components is the amount that they are over the median household income, and they get certain points for that as well. So there are points that they get scored for.
Good. Thank you.
And just kind of a little plug for the IDB. So if any of the public has any interest on serving on that board, it's a 6-year term. It meets quarterly, and there is a seat open on that board. So I would encourage anybody that's interested in not just learning more about your community, but about economic development projects to submit an application.
You mentioned at the beginning accountability to the pilot, and without getting into specific instances, could you talk about some of the circumstances that might lead a pilot to underperform? What sorts of challenges are some of our businesses confronting that may be an impediment to reaching their intended goal?
So on and off, there's supply chain issues. I'm sure everyone remembers Hurricane Helene and the impact that had on our region. But in some instances, there could have been supply chain issues that prevented them from maybe hiring people for positions. There's sometimes workforce-related issues, talent-related issues. Those types of things would most likely prevent some of these companies from hiring folks.
I should know this answer, but one of them is pilot, equipment on pilot. And as Commissioner Brock said, when you enter to a pilot, that IDB continues to own the property. If it's personal property, does IDB does the real property get transferred over? Or is it just the personal property as far as the equipment goes?
The real property gets transferred over, so that's land and building. And for personal property, it's equipment, and they do that through a bill of sale once a year.
And is that just on their tangible personal property tax as far as the pilot goes, or is it still on the real property?
It's on their
Property tax.
tangible.
Okay. Thanks.
I would make a
And I
motion.
might mention one other thing, that when we enter into pilot agreements on real property, so the land and building, so we don't enter into agreements that take properties that are currently on the tax roll off the tax roll. So what we would do for a pilot for a company that's expanding in terms of bricks and mortar, that's the piece that would get the property tax abatement in terms of the real property.
Let me ask one other question too. How often, it's not easy for the business, to enter into a pilot. They have a lot of work to do and accountability. So how often do they submit reports to the IDB so that they keep up with what's happening?
They're all required to submit annually, so some of those happen in January and some of them throughout the rest of the year. But we're trying to push all of those into one time during the year, like in January, so we get all the reports in at once, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ms. Laus, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Mayor, your next item, 7.1, ordinance 4927-25, second reading. An ordinance assigning Planned Arterial Business District B4 to approximately 67 2/10 acres located along Boones Creek Road and Christian Church Road. Ms. Whitney Hodges, our planning manager, is here to address the board.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I would like to present kind of the process first, because this one, because it is a voluntary annexation, with this one, we are moving at the speed of the property owner would like. So it's probably a little more lagging than you're used to seeing. So we are at the second reading of the zoning assignment. So all we'll be talking about is the zoning assignment. I'm going to give a brief presentation, but mainly focusing on what's the steps of the process. So we have, in the annexation parts, we have a recommendation from the Planning Commission. You guys have set a preliminary resolution. We will be holding a public hearing on December 18th, so that is in 1 month. And then as far as notifications, because as you know, annexations have specific notifications, and then there's some things that the city does for notification, is that we have signed the properties and sent letters before the Planning Commission, as well as before, we just sent one in September notifying the landowners around there again of when this would be coming before the City Commission. And then there's a requirement to post in public places. We did that on September 5th, and this will be advertised in the paper, or it was advertised on October 29th. Where this is on Boones Creek Road, right at Christian Church Road. 67 acres that they would like to annex into, or just a little bit over, into the city. It is contiguous to the city. They are looking for the zoning assignment of B4. What is around there is currently B4, as well as there is some RP5s that might be coming along as well. Currently, the Washington County zoning is PRBD and A1. The future land use map from the Horizon 2045 does put this as a regional mixed use, so this zoning district would be very appropriate. And you can see that retail and restaurant, which is what the desired use is for the property, would also fit with that. Staff recommends approval, so did the Planning Commission, because it is compatible with the future land use map and the policies of the Horizon 2045 plan. And then as this is the second reading, this would be for the zoning assignment only. We will be moving forward if you so choose in December.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Is it customary that this would have a reading, public hearing on third reading? Or?
Correct. That's when because what we like to do is marry those two together, so the public only has to come once.
I see. Okay, so this is just because the two items have gotten.
This is because usually we do them every 2 weeks, and we've been spreading this one out as a request of the applicant.
Thank you.
Well, with that, no more questions. Thank you. Any motions?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Laus, we call the roll.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes.
Next, Mayor, is item 8.1, Ordinance 4931-25, third reading. An ordinance to abandon 9,162 square feet of public right-of-way at the intersection of South Rome Street and East Highland Road. Again, Ms. Whitney Hodges, Planning Manager, is here to address the board.
There have been no changes since the public hearing, but I'm here for any questions.
Move approval.
Second.
Ms. Laus, we call the roll.
Commissioner Getz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Cox?
Yes. With that, there are no other items on the agenda, but see if there's anything that you guys want to update us on with anything. I know we've got something fun on November 27th. If you want to talk about that.
We do. So I've got like 3 things here. The 27th, a week from today, will be the 20th running of the Johnson City Up and Adam Turkey Trot. 20 years we've been doing this. And we've put out a call for 5,000 people to show up, and we are actually on a trajectory for that to happen. So if you want to be with 5,000 of your closest friends, please come down. Thanksgiving morning is the place to be. We sometimes pardon the turkey on this night. We didn't get a chance to tonight, but I know he is raring to go. And he has a new friend that will make her appearance at the turkey trot. Her name is Jane, and so they make quite a couple. So please come. You can register online at JohnsonCityTurkeyTrot.com, and we would love to see you there. It's going to be a great morning. Secondly, so that's Thursday, and then Saturday night we have the lighting of the Christmas trees. I know Public Works have been busy putting up 180 Christmas trees in King Commons, Founders Park, and in the downtown Johnson City area. And businesses they will start this weekend decorating those trees. Our Christmas trees have just been a hit, not just locally, but really nationwide. We've gotten just a tremendous amount of publicity for them, and people love to come. So come Saturday night, I think that's at what, 6 o'clock? 6:30?
I believe it's at 6:30.
6:30, and so we have a little bit of a ceremony, and then we flip the switch, and all 181 trees, because we have the big city Christmas
The
tree.
switch is a prop.
Yeah,
It's not really
yeah,
a switch.
so-
I was so disappointed the first year.
But then they all come on at the same time, and it's pretty magical, to say the least. The following weekend then will be the Christmas parade that should get everybody in the good Christmas spirit, and we want to have a wonderful time for our children, during this holiday season. So there'll be plenty for them to do.
Commissioner Wise or Getz, any updates? Well, I will try to make the turkey trot for the first time this year
Yes.
with my 5- and 6-year-old, who are really worried how
You
far
have to say a few words.
3 or 4 miles is. They've talked about it for
Tell
a
them there are
week now.
donuts at the end.
Yeah, well, they'll go straight there.
They can race a Getz boy if they'd like.
Well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting.